Appreciate y'all coming out this afternoon. I want to give you an update on 3 Austin police officers that have been indicted, go over the incidents that have led to these indictments, and let you know how this came to our attention and how we are handling these as we move forward. The officers involved in these incidents: first of all, an incident that occurred back on October 6th of 2017. The officer involved in that incident was Nathaniel Stallings, an officer who has been with us for 6 years. Officer Stallings has been indicted for 1 charge of assault with bodily injury, a Class A misdemeanor, and 1 charge of abuse of official capacity, a Class A misdemeanor. There's a second incident in which 2 officers have been indicted. The first officer in that incident is Robert Paff, who has been with us for 10 years and 2 months. This incident occurred on February 16th of 2018, and Officer Paff has been indicted for aggravated perjury, a 3rd-degree felony, assault with bodily injury, a Class A misdemeanor, official oppression, a Class A misdemeanor, and abuse of official capacity, a Class A misdemeanor. The second officer involved in that same incident is Officer Donald Petratus, who has been with the department for 7 years and 4 months. Officer Petratus was indicted for assault with bodily injury, a Class A misdemeanor, official oppression, a Class A misdemeanor, and abuse of official capacity, a Class A misdemeanor. Before I go into the incidents, I want to state that these officers are still entitled to due process and are still presumed to be innocent until their cases are heard by a court of law. However, all 3 officers were indicted, and these cases will see their day in court in the future. We will also be holding administrative hearings on these cases as well. These officers will be placed on suspended, they will be suspended without pay as we await the outcome of these indictments, and they will also again be subject to an internal discipline hearing that we will make an appropriate decision on whether or not they will face administrative penalties as well based on these incidents. Both of these incidents were captured on video. However, we will not be releasing the video at this time because that video will be part of the upcoming criminal case as well as the internal administrative. I will give a brief description, however, to kind of explain what has happened that led us to this point. But again, these are videos that we cannot release at this time given the upcoming hearings. In the incident that occurred on October 6th involving Officer Stallings, he and another officer were investigating a suspected prostitution incident that took place. During this incident, the officers arrested an African-American female, and during this arrest, force was used. The use of force was captured on video, and this is the incident that the grand jury has indicted Officer Stallings on for that use of force. The second incident that occurred back on February 16th of this year was also captured on video. This incident involved a shooting that had taken place, and the officers responding to the shooting and their interaction with a group of individuals that were near the victim of that shooting that were unknown at that time, whether they were involved in the shooting, whether they witnessed or were suspects in the shooting. So that was the incident the officers responded to. In this incident, there was 1 subject who was ultimately tased. The officers wrote in their report the circumstances under which they tased this subject, and the written report is not consistent with what the video depicts. Specifically, the individual was described in the report as on his feet and walking away from the officers, and it is clear on the video that that is not what happened in this incident. So that is what led to the officers in this incident being indicted. I want to point out that both of these cases were self-identified by the Austin Police Department. The supervisors that were conducting the use of force review that we conduct on all use of force incidences uncovered this and reported it, and that led to the complaints and the internal affairs investigations. So although these incidents are ones that we are very concerned about the fact that they happened, the system that we have in place to review our officers' conduct and our officers' use of force in both these incidents worked in that they were self-identified and they were forwarded through the process. There will be administrative hearings upcoming again on these cases, at which point the chain of command, we will make a decision on whether or not there will be administrative sanctions placed on these officers as well. And then at this time, I will open it up for questions, but I will remind you that these officers are still presumed innocent until they have their day in court, and I still have to hold administrative hearings, so there's likely not a lot more than we can release at this time other than what I've already stated.
Were the officers that were involved in that second incident, you just mentioned the most recent incident, were they able to view the video before writing out their report?
Yes, all officers have the opportunity to review videos if they choose.
Chief Manley, the lawyers for the two officers that responded to the shooting, the shots fired call, the lawyer says these indictments can hinder Austin police in general from responding to these sort of events and protecting themselves. What would you say to the lawyer's response that this could hurt police work in the community, these indictments?
You know, I'm not going to respond to the lawyer's comments. I will just respond with the values of this police department that we train our officers to and that what we uphold them to. And in this instant, there were concerns with how this was carried out. We have policies that allow our officers to use force when necessary to effect an arrest or to protect themselves or others. And in this instant, the supervisors who reviewed them had concerns and forwarded those up the chain, and they resulted in these investigations and ultimately within these indictments.
What can you tell us about the force that was used in the October 6th incident? Can you give us any specifics? Were there weapons, hand-to-hand?
There were no weapons. It was hand-to-hand, but I'm not going to go into the specifics of the actual account.
Chief, the video that's being reviewed, is that all body camera footage for the incident involving the two officers?
There is body camera footage, and there may be in-car footage as well on that one.
The two officers responding to the shots fired call, were they off-duty or on SWAT officers that work for the SWAT team, correct?
Those two officers are both assigned to the Austin Police Department SWAT unit. Yes, they are. The officer involved in the incident back on October 6th is a patrol officer.
Were they working in the SWAT team during that, or was it?
No, they were working overtime in a patrol capacity, filling in for officers that were out off of a shift.
All these officers have quite a bit of experience with the force. Is there any other indication that this may have happened before?
That's obviously part of a review, but no, there's no indication that this has happened before. And again, as much as this incident is one that raised concerns within this department and within the community, this is one that was self-identified within the department by the supervisors and sent to internal affairs and ultimately to the SIU unit, which resulted in the Travis County Grand Jury reviewing the incident.